The Wiseman tradition nourishes the wholeness of the unique individual. Rather than cleansing, what I suggest is that you drink a quart of nourishing herbal infusion every day. Drink your way to health.
Wow, thank you. Next up is Green Meadow.
I had a question about what role do enzymes have in health? I've heard we have less ability to make enzymes to just digest food as we age. I've also heard that some foods deplete enzymes and some have their own. It's one of those mystery subjects to me. What should we know about enzymes?
Okay, the first thing you need to know about enzymes is that enzymes are proteins.
Okay.
So they're not some strange foreign compound, they're proteins. Enzymes are proteins. Okay, so the second thing we need to know about enzymes is that we are bags of them. Every single thing that we do is enzyme mediated. The release of ADP from the cell is enzyme mediated. Everything in your body is enzyme mediated. You are enzymes. Once you stop making enzymes, you simply die. So, again, a bunch of bluster and baloney here. I hired an internet researcher and paid her a pretty fancy fee for 3 hours of research to find me any scientific study showing that any enzyme in any plant was active in human digestion. After 3 hours, she could find no scientific study of any kind that showed that. And she gave me a fourth hour free because she got fascinated by it. And in that fourth hour, she found a study that showed that all enzymes in plants are completely destroyed by hydrochloric acid in the stomach. And, of course, that would make sense now, wouldn't it? If we are bags of enzymes and our immune system basically is deciding what's me and what's not me, then the enzymes that are me, and the enzymes from plants aren't me, and so they drive the immune system utterly nuts. And the enzymes that got into my body would damage my immune system, make my immune system work too hard. So my stomach kills the enzymes. Thank goodness. I'm so glad.
Okay. That's a different answer. Thank you.
Yeah, let me go on a bit, though. There are 3 fruits that contain enzymes, proteins, that function with other proteins to make those other proteins relax. One of them you can buy in the supermarket. It's called Adolph's Meat Tenderizer. It is papain, an enzyme from papaya. And when put on meat, it causes the protein of the meat to relax, and it causes tough cuts of meat to be tender. Another one is bromelain, found in pineapple. If you've ever eaten raw pineapple, you know that bromelain digests meat very, very well. It's happy to digest your tongue, your lips, too, huh?
Oh.
You overeat it on pineapple, your mouth starts getting digested. Right? That's why we have pineapple with Christmas ham, say. Right? Because it helps us to deal with the ham. And there is an enzyme whose name I have chosen not to remember because it's long and complicated, that's in kiwi fruit. And somebody at a conference who's an elk hunter told me that he had put a very tough piece of elk in a plastic storage container with 3 cut-up kiwis, and 24 hours later he went back and there was a bone sitting in meat soup. And next year he was only going to use 1 kiwi because he actually had wanted to roast that piece of meat, not turn it into soup. So these 3 enzymes do what? They digest meat. And that's wonderful because that takes place in the stomach. So before the hydrochloric acid destroys these enzymes are effective in helping us to deal with the meat. Furthermore, any animal protein that we eat contains its own enzymes, which help us to digest that particular protein. In other words, they are helper proteins. Thus, it is ideal to consume raw milk, raw yogurt, raw milk cheeses, raw meat, raw fish, raw eggs, and raw insects, because these things contain helper proteins, enzymes that help us digest the proteins. There are, however, no proteins that need help in plants, and therefore eating raw plants is simply a waste of the plant and a waste of your effort because there's no nutrition of any kind available from raw plants.
So, what does cooking do to plants to make them digestible?
It breaks down the cell wall so that we can get to the nutrition. And it doesn't have to be cooking. When the cell wall has been broken, we can see that there's a color change and a texture change. And so we know that freezing also breaks the cell wall. We know that fermentation breaks the cell wall, that dehydration breaks the cell wall, or that covering something in oil also breaks the cell wall. These are the 5 primary ways to break the cell wall and to get nutrition from our plant foods: subjected to heat, subjected to freezing cold, fermented, dehydrated, or cover it in oil.
So that's why you add salad dressing to salads?
And that's why if you want to get any benefit from your salad, you will put at least 2 tablespoons of oil or half an avocado on your salad.
Okay, thank you. My next question is actually our last question. Hippocrates said, let your food be medicine and let your medicine be your food. Many common foods have been used to treat illness, and I've heard that garlic, onions, lemon, ginger, and thyme being used for different things. What foods do you recommend to support health?
It is true. Hippocrates,
Thank you.
it's all right, did say let your medicine be your food. However, when did Hippocrates live?
Long ago?
3,000 years ago?
Yes.
There weren't any drugs. There weren't any medicines besides herbal medicines. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? So different time, different country, different things. Again, one of the things that you've heard me agitating against, herbs are not drugs with green coats on. They are complicated conglomerations of a great many constituents that have a great many different effects. Each and every plant, just like each and every human being, is absolutely able to work on its own. They do not need to ever be combined. However, the part of the plant that we want to choose, the time when we want to harvest it, the method of preparation, and the amount that we take are all critical factors that we must know in order to use that well. I had a young mother call me up, absolutely hysterical. She had read that garlic was a good medicine if a baby had a cough. So she took garlic, raw garlic, sliced it up, and put it on her baby's chest. And when she took it off her baby's chest, she took off all of the skin as well. Because fresh raw garlic on the skin is a caustic. So we can't simply say this food is a medicine. We have to say what part, when have we harvested, how are we preparing it, and exactly how are we using it or taking it. My new book down there, Sexual and Reproductive Health, The Wise Woman Way, has chapters on all of the prevalent reproductive cancers, each of which is preceded by a chapter about preventing that particular cancer. And a great many of those preventatives are, in fact, food. Just for instance, in the chapter Preventing Prostate Cancer, we find foods such as cooked tomatoes, cooked cabbage family plants, cooked apples, pomegranate juice, green tea, garlic, onions, red clover infusion, lentils, right, fatty fish, kelp, avocados, flax seeds, walnuts, pecans, sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds, stinging nettle. All right, we see what is the connection between meat, and we find that it is processed meat that is the problem, not meat in general. Recent studies find there is no association with the amount of red meat eaten, nor the method of cooking the meat, but that any meat which is well done will raise the risk of cancer. So these are just a few of the possibilities when we're looking specifically at preventing prostate cancer or in general.
Thank you. That's helpful.
And I think that this is why people find my book so helpful. Because as you see, many times I've actually simply picked up the book and read to you from the book. I like to give people clear, coherent, and simple ways to function. Down there, sexual and reproductive health for men and women. The Wise Woman Way builds on the strength of my previous books, where we use the 6 steps of healing, so it's true integrative medicine, where Grandmother Growth talks to us, but in down there, she's joined by Grandfather Growth, who also talks to my books have always been beautifully illustrated by Alan McKnight, who really outdid himself now. He illustrated it for 150 herbs, but he also did some magnificent anatomical illustrations for this book, some of which are being used by medical professionals because they show the relationships of the organs so absolutely clearly. And one of the new features in this book are help boxes, so that if you have a problem, you can simply open to that chapter, and right there is a little box that says, do these 3 or 4 things, boop, 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 and this is when you can expect results. I've also included her stories and his stories, so we get both history and herstory, and both the men's and the women's things, because I believe that story medicine is such an important medicine, and that talking to you like this tonight and sharing our stories is one of the most important things that we do to promote health.
Thank you. Yeah, I've really enjoyed listening to you. I had not listened to you before, and this has been wonderful.
Herbal medicine is people's medicine. It's the medicine right outside our doors, whether we live in the city or the country. There are plants that most people call weeds that are available to every single one of us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Green Meadow. And Susan, thank you for taking us on a journey through your connection to the earth and her green allies, and for sharing your wisdom towards a sustainable and natural way of life. I will leave you with a poem titled Herb Woman by Eleanor C. Koenig. Roots and herbs she gathers, morning, night, and noon, by the raising dog star underneath the moon. In her fragrant kitchen, while the lost world sleeps, gentle midnight priestess, she mixes and steeps, shakes the leafy brethren, sorts and scrapes with skill, on her vibrant fingers, wood and field and hill, poppy leaves and wormwood, peony petals spilt, dreamy hot flowers added, for a headache quilt. Hands only made for healing, nostrils made for smell, forehead wide and yearning, eyes fixed in a spell. With the loose prescriptions floating through her head, such are prayers she mutters ere she goes to bed. On behalf of Fox and all the members of the WebBot Forum, thank you. And in our tradition of loving and making pie, may you and yours have many delicious pies to look forward to.
Green blessings and good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.